Hey y'all, my name is Alex and I am currently a doctoral candidate in metaphysical counseling, and this is why I am talking to you because it has to do with my research project. I'm at the tail end of my dissertation and finishing everything up, and my research project is based actually on my program that I work with clients on and through, and it's epic and it's amazing, and I've been fine-tuning it through the years, and so that is where we are at now. And so I wanted to briefly go through like what our actual program is, what that looks like, and of course the expectations to see if this is a good fit, because if it is, and the window to apply, because everything is free. The project itself, to be a participant, is free. It's an over $5,000 program that you get absolutely free. All of the results are anonymous, so even if you get chosen as a participant, everything regarding you and who you are is completely anonymous. We've taken time to put all of this together, so I'm really excited, y'all, for you to be able to just receive this, be blessed by it, and let me show the world the cool things that we can do with this program. And so let's get into it. The first thing you need to know is that the total program length is 12 weeks. So yes, it is only 3 months. It is 90 days. Yes, you can quite literally change your entire life in that short of a time span, and you will continue the work if you choose to on your own, and everything that I've taught you will continue to emphasize and allow those massive and monumental changes to come through. I don't know if you guys know my story, but I have come from a horrendous history of domestic violence. It was a whole thing. Ex-husband's rights were eventually terminated because of abuse. My kids and I, we've been through the gamut, and it's through these things actually that I was led through my own healing and all of this stuff. And just, it's been over a decade if you didn't know. And so just all of this work together, bringing it in and bringing forth that knowledge, and the, going back to school and doing all my different degrees and different things. Obviously what I'm doing right now is finalizing everything, kind of, if you will, for what I've been doing literally over decades of worth of work and healing, and for my own journey has brought me here with this knowledge, brought me into it all. And for me, it just all made sense to be able to kind of dial it in. And yeah, so with that being said, in that span, it's broken up into 3 phases. So each month, so 4 weeks is each phase. And so in this first phase, we dig into the mind. This is where we start pulling all of the limiting beliefs, because we can prove scientifically that our mind is fully able and capable of creating diseases, creating all the different things in our life. And we are responsible for the way our life looks, good, bad, or otherwise, because we are consciously creating that. Now, I'm not saying if you're struggling right now with your life, you're like, yes, I chose this. It's a subconscious thing. And that's where it's not necessarily a consensual connection and intentional thing that we are doing, but it is something that our bodies do, and they create in the space, unfortunately. And that's where we need to heal it. That's why we need to pull this stuff out, so we can be like, oh, this is why that pattern keeps coming back. And because it'll keep coming back in a different person, a different job, different scenario. I don't care what it is. If it is unresolved and it is operating within your vessel, you are going to have a recreation of what it is you're energetically vibrating at. And I know it sounds a little nerdy or whatever, but I can prove this to you guys, and it's really awesome being able to show, not just scientifically, through various different research, Dr. Yamamoto's the speaking, and the water, and the different ways that it's shaped, the water and the molecules and the structures and stuff like that, the harmonious and disharmonious words that were spoken. It was a variety of them, right? And so you can just see right there how much our power is in our voice, our spoken word. Things that we think is just the mind speaking. It's no different than us speaking it out. We are having a electrical, physical reaction. It's like if you were to plug something into an outlet and turn the light on, you're creating a connected loop with that electrical, line, basically what you're doing, right? And that's how you're able to get the electricity and turn it on, and off, right? You're doing kind of the same thing with yourself. When you are closing that loop to turn on what is meant for you, you have to do it with intention. You have to do it with okay, I see this, and this pattern. I teach you how to like go into where you're actually pulling out the different belief systems. You're like, oh, okay, this is what's coming up. That's why this is happening. Oh, there's that nasty little thought again, right? That negative belief or whatever it is. Because often I've seen clients between 1 to 4 core wounds. Often this is coming up from upbringing because it's consistent, it's long-standing, things of that nature. This is where we have our core wounds that we will see it show up in various different ways. Like I'm unlovable, I'm not enough. Those could be tied to maybe you have a worthiness wound. That's a really big one I see in clients is like, I'm not worthy. And so maybe those things, like it's going to come back to that core wound, but it's going to show up in little ways. And you'll see it as you're moving through the situation, being able to be in tune with everything. You're going to start to see and hear and feel the emotions associated with what's going on and taking place. And you'll be able to start noticing things and starting to write it down and getting very aware and getting very conscious of what it is you actually want to create instead. And so again, this is all in my program. We start pulling it back and pulling out all these different layers within all of us. We all have it. And then that's when the second month goes into the body. We will feel the things we are having going on in our lives. If you haven't read The Body Keeps the Score, absolutely read it. I highly recommend, because it really talks about how trauma quite literally gets stuck in our bodies. And then that's part of where the frequency comes in that we start recreating, because it's stuck in our body. So we're humming at a specific frequency. And if that frequency is saying lack and fear, for instance, or whatever it is, well, things that are associated with these core beliefs and these core wounds, because they want to be healed, is why they will keep coming up. They will keep being like, oh, I want to present. Oh, I want to see. Are you sure you really healed that? How are you going to deal with it this time? Because that's usually how you can get the confirmation. I have indeed healed this, whatever it is, wound, because when I was able to recognize that situation when it came up again, I saw right through it. I did X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever that looks like for you to move through in a healed way. But it comes from our bodies speaking to us. This is where the somatic aspect comes in, because if you know my work, it's a variety of things that like, and it wasn't intentional, like, oh, it has to be this practice. It was like, no, this works. And then when you bring it all together, it just made this beautiful, epic explosion of like a healed program that people can really walk through, manage, and then consistently come back. Because like even me, I've been doing this work for well over a decade, and I'm doing this work every single day, because I don't care how many layers you've healed, we are humans in this human experience, and we're going to have many more to go. And so it's just going to look a little different. It's going to present a little different, but the frequency, that core frequency, is going to be the same. You're like, okay, I see you. I got you. Let's move through it. Right. And then the third phase is this full-on integration work. That's where we start really taking, because it's a lot. When we start really becoming aware, like one thought at a time, one like core wound that's really permeating in the area is often enough to take us through 12 weeks. And then if you do it one by one, and you just start pulling back these big things piece by piece and really sitting with it and allowing the trauma, the whatever event it was, whatever happened, to speak to you about what is it that's still unhealed within me that is making this happen, because I, want to heal it. And when you're coming at it from a place of gratitude, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you believe in God, Jesus, Yeshua, whatever that connection is, that gratitude for me, honestly, when I come back to that, like that prayer is always thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Thank you for showing me with the divine guidance and light and love that this is what I needed to see and hear today. When I'm pulling back these layers, because it can really hurt, it can sting, it can make us be like, oh, I don't want to see that side of me. But the saving grace in it all is when we approach it of like, yeah, that hurts, that stings, whatever it might be, and it's really unpleasant, but I know I need to heal it. And, especially if you have that relationship with God, highly encourage you to lean in the integration portion of it, because at least for me, in my walk in faith, it's positively blown it up in the most amazing ways, because it allowed me to enter into that flow state. And so now these flow states are really epic. Even when I'm going through trials and stuff, I'm right there with it, because I already can see the bigger picture than what my human eyes would be like, oh no, fear, scarcity, oh no, danger, Will Robinson. And really, when your divine mind is able to see and be like, no, look, this is actually what's taking place, and you're able to move through it a lot easier. And so this integration is that aspect. Whether you choose to connect deeper with God or however that looks, it doesn't really matter. And you don't need to, even on that aspect. Just learning how to integrate these aspects of ourselves within our mind, our body, and our spirit to pull the changed behavior from, okay, we identified it in the first phase, we're like really feeling into it and like really getting clear about it, and now we're integrating the changed behaviors of the things that we want to integrate instead of the initial thoughts. And of course, it's going to take time and layers and work and things of that nature. So that's where the expectations with our participants comes in. Your homework is going to be 10 minutes a day max. This is the integration pieces, or again, depending on what phase you're in, but like really with the integration piece, this is going to be super key, because like, yes, you do need to be mindful, and it's like through just like quick little meditation. You're talking about less than 5 minutes, different things. Even if you've got like scatterbrain and you're like, Alex, I can't meditate. Trust me, boo, I got you. I have so many ways to deal. And it's not even like a traditional sitting it doesn't have to be anything like that. There's so many different ways to be able to get into that conscious space, because what you're doing is you're activating yourself to be able to open up, to show you, where am I still hurting? What is still going on within my body that I am operating at a specific frequency that is calling in the life that I am currently creating? And until we get quiet enough to sit and listen, and if that's really hard, it's okay. You're fine with it. I've got pieces and programs that, even like when I started, I swore I was never going to be able to meditate, because I was one of those people that even just like sitting still and like legit sitting and like trying to be quiet and calm for even 30 seconds was like, I felt like a cat trying to claw out of a box. It was awful. And I just didn't like it. It was awful. And I just was like, I'm just never going to be able to meditate. I will never be able to sit quietly, like whatever, right? Wrong. It's just the different techniques and the ability and the willingness. Now, if you're sitting there like I was at first, I was very protesting. And then I was introduced to something which is what I teach. And at first I was like, I don't want to like this. I don't want this to work, because I was so just like set in my way that like, I'll never meditate, right? And so even if you are stubborn and hard-headed about that type of thing as I was, I got you, boo, because I promise you this stuff works. And the other side of it is amazing. The other side of this healed, more empowered, more like we just know ourselves on such a deep level of everything. And we are shameless. We are like so healed and emboldened and like walking in our purpose on all levels, and just so in alignment to what our purpose and calling is, because we are so clear on everything we need to see. And it's not saying, of course, your day-to-day life is going to be like perfect or whatever. No, it just is so much easier to give yourself that grace and that higher mindset of like, oh, wow, I see this thing coming up. That's so interesting that this person or situation came into my energy. What's going on here? And like not even being attached to it, being completely detached, and be like willing to observe and like hold that space, even if you're super triggered, like, I don't know that I agree with that. Or yeah, I definitely would agree with that piece. Okay, I'll agree to this, right? Even if you're just able to see into that higher realm of what's taking place, we can do it because our lenses are clear. This is where a lot of traditional talk therapy just straight up does not work. It's all in the mind. Okay, well, it's great that I recognize I'm stressed about X, Y, and Z, but it's always something deeper. You'll hear me often say, well, what's really the root cause here? Because that's where we need to get to. And that's where my work gets to. And that's why I see such amazing results. And so I'm super excited. So with our sessions it'll be every Sunday when we are running our cohort, and you will have, I always tell people, give yourselves at least 2 hours, because that way we have our class, our decompression time, and then at the very end you'll have like a couple assessments. That's all in that time frame. And so being able to just really set that time aside, if this sounds like something you are able to do. We also have our onboarding call and our offboarding calls, which we'll set up with all the times and stuff too, to make sure everyone's able to attend, to make sure they know where everything's at, how everything is going, and then the offboarding to really connect and see how we can serve you and what that looks like for any follow-up resources. But the times for the Sunday sessions, those I do need everybody to be there, because that helps keep the consistency. So if you're unsure, do still apply, mark the box, and because there's information in the application, and let me know, hey, X, Y, and Z, this is the situation, I'll know by such and such if you need to confirm dates or something, right? Like leave me notes and stuff. You guys can do that in the application itself. You guys can leave me all kinds of information if you need to. So let me get into really quick kind of how the process goes, because with the participants, everything is anonymous. Now you will have like a number associated with you, And then you will have that, like, so say number one, for instance, right? You're number one and participant number one. This is the different, like if you had any changes, for instance, in any of the different assessments, things of that nature, overall stuff like that. That's really what's going to be the crux of what we're looking at is the assessments. And then it'll be, participant maybe number two, right? That's their ID, right? And then we track them. So I will not know who is what participant. I will know like who's in the group and the names and stuff, but I will not know whose results are what. Everything is completely anonymous for me as far as that goes. We have like randomizers who are going to be picking the participants. So if you don't get picked, please understand it is 100% not personal or anything. It is the randomizer and people taking care of that. That is not me, because I am not to know anything about what whose results are associated with what throughout the entire process. Even after like publishing, it'll still like everything will maintain anonymous, because that's part of how it's supposed to be. And so with that being said, everything that's published will also be anonymous as far as like the identifying information of the participant. Obviously your results are going to be published and so we can show our work, but who you are and who you are chosen as is not going to be stated in any of the published findings. So those are the ways that we help keep anonymity, and everything that we practice is in HIPAA compliant as far as like our calls and stuff. Those are not going to be, they will be recorded for purposes in case like we ever have to reference something, there's ever a complaint, things of that nature. But as far as anything that is published or shared outside of that group, absolutely not. And it's not relevant for the research purposes either. So it's more like a safety security kind of a thing, just in case. And then that's never published either. So a lot of the information is completely anonymous as far as who the participant is, what's being spoken about. Again, I operate it just like I would a regular group. Now, if you're telling me you're suicidal and you have a plan and like I genuinely believe there is a result or something like that, of course, as a mandated reporter, things of that nature, I have to report just by law. However, everything else outside of mandated reporter stuff, it's fair game. I have no reason to tell anybody. Everybody in the group is mandated to, like, that's part of their contract. We will sign a contract. It's agreement basically like, hey, this is the expectations, because it's like, I need you to understand what's expected of you in the group and everything else going on with the project and stuff like that. And really it's mostly for keeping people's private information private, given the fact that it is a group experience. So with that being said, we'd love for you to apply. Don't forget to find the application links wherever you are finding this video and leave us a comment or any questions you guys have. And let us know if you're excited, and share this with people you think that might work with, even if it isn't for you, but you're like, oh, this sounds really awesome for such and such person I know. Please share with them. Like I said, everything is free across the board. The application process, everything is. And hopefully you are one of the lucky few that I get to serve during this experience. I cannot wait to connect with y'all soon. Take care.